My name's Emily Wilson. I'm part of the Bob Wilson company. We at Hereford Mayfair is operating the Storm Ride, and I have been coming to Hereford Fair all my life, going back 4 generations. My grandson's here today with me as well, so we've had 4 generations actually in Hereford. My grandfather, Matthew Stevens, started he was in Broad Street, just along there, with Coconut Shies. And then my other grandparents, Mr. and Mrs. Tom Price, and my mother and father, Mr. and Mrs. Billy Stevens, we used to have the dancing girl shows down in Commercial Road. But unfortunately, when Commercial Road went, there was no room. The council couldn't allocate any more space, so we lost out, along with the big rota, Mr. Barton's Ghost Train. There used to be Mr. Chadwick's Freak Show. It was all novelty shows in Commercial Row, which I think it was something that made Hereford very unique.
Tell us a bit more about your parents and your grandparents, the dancing girls. Who took part? What was it like? What did they do?
Well, it was the Can-Can girls and the Cuban dancing girls. On my grandma's show, the girls used to do the Can-Can, and on my mum and dad's show, they used to do sort of like more Latin American dancing. And we used to have staff through an agency, but most of the time, the family was on there as well, because my elder brother, Billy, and my sister Tilly, they was on it with staff. And then when they got married and they did their own thing, me and my other brother, Arthur, unfortunately, my late brother, we took it over. And then when Arthur got married, we'd done it for about 2 years, and then we packed it away. So it's been packed away, I would say, probably about 50 years.
But you used to dance yourself. Tell us about that and your sister.
Well, it was nothing, because I'd been brought up to do it. My mother used to do it when she was a girl, so it was just a family trade, you know.
How did you learn? How did you learn what to do?
Well, my mother would have learnt my sister, then like my sister would have learnt me. And my brother would have learnt my other brother to do the spieling on the show. So yes, it just goes back generations, but remember as well, my grandma, they had one, and my uncle, my mother's brother, used to do the spieling on their show. So the 2 shows would stand next to each other, and was there some opposition, because there was drums and bells and everything.
When you say spieling,
It's telling a tale down the microphone, saying what you're going to see inside.
Can we just do that a little bit again, because I was fiddling? Sorry,
Yeah.
my fault entirely.
tell us about the speeding. Can you use the word speeding as well? Because I'm going to need cut out.
Yeah. Well, what it was, my uncle would have learnt my brothers to do the spieling. By spieling, that means telling the tale on the front of the show, encouraging the people to go in, telling them what they was going to see inside. So again, that would go through the family. My uncle learnt my elder brother, then my elder brother learnt my younger brother. So it's very much family, family, family.
And the competition.
Well, at most sites, the 2 shows would be side to side, and there would be a lot of competition, because it could get the most people into their show. And there'd be drums and fire eating and bells ringing, and it would stop the streets, you know. So that's what it was all about. The better you was on the front of the show, the more people you got inside. So then that's how you earn to live in.
What about the audience, the crowds? Can you describe that?
Well, it was for all ages. You know, it was families would go in, and men thinking they're going to see something they're not going to see. No, generally all-round audience, yeah.
And so you used to dance with your sister.
No. My sister was on it before me, and then, yeah.
So what was it like? Was it like I think you described it like being a tiller girl.
Well, no, some of the staff would go on to be tiller girls after they'd learned, but no, we didn't ever do that. We got married into the business.
What about you described Commercial Road being, full of the freak shows and the dancing girls.
That's right, and ghost trains, and there was ever such a variety down there. There was a rotor, big wheel, Mr. Barton's ghost train, which he was a local person. He had his house in Hereford. I think this is what the fair is lacking now, the variety. Most fairs are, because you haven't got a line of what they call novelty shows. I mean, you'd have the fattest lady in the world here and the smallest midget. So that, to me, was show business.
What do you think it is today?
Well, today we've moved up so fast. I mean, the rides now are more thrilling, daring. We are coming back, though, to more families. We went through a stage for about 4 years that families didn't come. Very few families came. It was more the teenagers. But now we have noticed that the older rides, sort of thing, the Dodgems, that kind of ride, are coming back stronger because there's more families coming. Where the teenagers now and the big thrill rides are going to the pop festivals. So that's where the balance is tipping now, either to the pop festivals, that's where they go for the more thrill rides. But on the local fun fairs now, families are coming back because it's a safe place to be.
Can you describe the changes you've witnessed in your time?
Oh God.
I mean, before your time.
Well, my father's family was into coconut shies. In fact, before they was in coconut shies, they was probably horse dealers, not gypsies, horse dealers. And excuse me. And then they used to have coconut shies in Commercial Row, and then over in Broad Street here outside the Green Dragon Hotel. And then so my grandfather and my aunties would dress coconuts so they could go on the back. So I come through all that with my grandparents, and then they started with different stalls and food kiosks, and of course even with the rides, the difference between rides now, 99% all computerized. So it's the whiz kids that knows what they're doing. I'm not a computer person, so that's where I rely on my grandchildren.
What do you think of the fair today then compared to when you were first starting out?
I think the fair when we first started had a much more atmosphere, a lot more atmosphere, because they used to give the children the day off of school one day for the opening day, and then it always seemed to be that it was local elections on the second day or the third day, so of course the schools was closed for that. So there was much more atmosphere because people create atmosphere.
Did you enjoy the early days working on your parents' stall?
Loved it. That's why I'm doing it now. And my grandchildren's doing it.
Why? Tell us why you love
Because it's a wonderful life. We go to such beautiful places. I mean, we have a home. Got a home in Tenerife and we got a home in Birmingham, our house. But I wouldn't want to stay at any of them because we go to such fantastic stuff. I mean, it's lovely. We don't have to pay to be on holiday here at Hereford. And we go to Kenilworth and Stratford-on-Avon, Solihull, Windsor. We go to some... So we've got beautiful gardens 9 months of the year. I'm now looking at a wonderful photo of my mother and father's, Mr. and Mrs. Billy Stevens' Glam on Parade Cuban Dancing Girls. On this lovely photo, you can see my mother. She used to take the money at the cashier, and she used to put the music on for the girls to dance. Holding the one ticket up is my eldest sister, Tilly, who married John Locke, and her son is still at Hereford Fair now. And my brother, my eldest brother, Billy Stevens, who used to run that show. And then after Billy and Tilly got married, it was down to the younger generation, which was my brother, Arthur. Unfortunately, we lost him 11 years ago, and myself, to carry it on. And it's been now, must be 50 years since that show was out. But that actual show, as it is seen on this picture, is in a container in our depot in Birmingham. It's been stored away and it is there, and it's not been out for 50 years, but I can assure you it is still in mint condition. This photograph I'm looking at is of my mother and father's show in Commercial Row. You can see on the photograph my mother, who used to be the DJ of the times, and she used to also collect the money. That is my sister Tilly. She is the eldest but one, and that is my brother Billy, who was the eldest of the family. Now they run that show for many, many years until they both got married, and my sister Tilly, actually her son is here at the fair again, John Locke. Then my brother and I run the show. Unfortunately, we lost my brother, who was the past president of the Showman's Guild, Arthur Stevens, 11 years ago. So where them two is now, me and my other brother would be. And that actual show has been packed away for probably 50 years, and it is stored in a container in our depot at Hay Mills, Birmingham, and it's still in mint condition. This lovely photograph I'm looking at is a photograph of Mr. Albert Barton, who was a local from Hereford. He's had a house here, and his sons and daughters went to school here. Mr. Barton used to look after the ghost train and own the ghost train that was in Commercial Road for many, many years. Wonderful man, and give lots of joys to families, as you can see on the photos with his ghost train.
Well, tell us how long you've been coming.
Well, I've been coming over 70 years. I've not missed Hereford Fair. In fact, 1 year or 2 years, the Showman's Guild lost the tendency, and Mr. Joey Stevens, who was a member of the Showman's Guild, he took the fair rights. And even them 2 years, my father still fetched me to Hereford Fair. So I've never missed an Hereford Fair, as long as I can remember.
So the Stevens family, do you have the longest tenancy here?
I would say the Stevens family, yes. My granddad Stevens, and my grandma Stevens, I would say, my word, before this century, they was coming here. They had coconut shies, and I would say yes, the oldest family in Hereford is the Stevens family.
And
Sorry. Okay.
do we look at the photographs just now? Commercial Street, full of all these little shows, people.
That was entertainment.
Can you describe that to us? Because it looks like it was the heyday. Just describe the scene, the shows.
Well, it was, because everyone, you'd go down Commercial Road, that's where all the shows was, and that's what we used to call the entertainment street. You'd have people talking, spieling on the microphone about the smallest lady, Edie Barlow. You would have them talk about Barney and Joy, the fattest couple. You'd hear Mr. Chadwick mention about his freak shows, the dog with 5 legs. You'd have Mr. Barton's ghost train. You'd have Taylor's boxing show, and then you'd have my mother and my grandma's variety shows. So every one of those, the people just wasn't walking, they would stop to be entertained. And then the best entertainer, then the more people went into their shows. And that's how it was.
But it didn't finish at 9 o'clock. Tell us what.
Oh,
tell us
no,
what the
no,
late
no, no, no,
nights-
no. Hereford was always a very late fair. We used to be open at Hereford till midnight because, and why it created so much atmosphere, the children always had the first day off of school, and the second or the third day always seemed to be polling day, so the local schools was closed for the polling. So you'd have the children and the families all day, and then in the evening, because the people would be out in the fields picking the ops and doing whatever their trade was, then they would come into the town about 7 o'clock. So then they'd go and have a few drinks in the local pubs. Meals wasn't a thing then, it was just they'd go and have a pie and a pint, I suppose. And then they used to come out and really enjoy the fair. So there would be as many people here at midnight as what there'd be at 6 o'clock, because they used to come in from all the villages round Hereford. And I think the coach companies used to do promotions to get people here. We seem to have lost a lot of that, unfortunately. There's not enough being promoted for the fair. I mean, I can remember there used to be coaches come from Gloucester and from Cardiff to Hereford Mayfair because it was a big part of the social season. And it was over the first week in May. Everybody used to over on the good weather, which it usually was nice. So it was a part of a calendar like Ascot Racecourse or the races, the Derby, the FA Cup. The Mayfair was an highlight of their year.
So, can you describe the transition for your family, for example, so moving from the entertainment to the rides?
Well, I married into, excuse me, my family never had rides. My husband's family, they did the big rides, and my father-in-law started way back early 19s, and they used to bring a carousel here. So that's how I married into the rides. We was always the shows and the stalls and food.
We were talking about, the innocence of the dancing girls.
Yes.
And then the rise of something like Raymond's Review Bar, so that kind of signalled the end of these...
And pole dancing and nightclubs and things like that.
Describe that.
I think the biggest problem was staff, families getting married, so there was nobody to carry it on. That was the biggest problem. The younger generation didn't want to take it on.
So,
I think we might need that rephrasing a bit, just to say what it was that needed carrying on. Can we do that one just briefly again? Is that all right?
Could we do that again?
What's that now?
Just talking about, just reframing that a little bit. That the reason why it couldn't carry on, you couldn't get.
Well, the reason why the shows didn't care, because they was all families, and then as the families got married, there was nobody to carry them on. Unfortunately, the younger generation could see more in rides, and it's like the bingos, and we used to have the old-fashioned spinners. They finish really when the big boys come into the bingos, bingo halls, and so yes, it has a big circle.
So the Mayfair has been coming to Hereford since 1121.
Yes.
So that makes it what, 800, 900 years? I'm
Yes,
not good at maths.
yes.
Almost 900 years.
So there should be big celebrations for 900 years, shouldn't there?
So how important is it that we recall the heritage of the Mayfair coming to Hereford?
Well, you would have to record it by seeing all the different changes, won't you? That's what you have to do, is go back from when it was horse-drawn carriages coming in to set the fair up, and then steam engines, because remember they went from horses to steam engines and then to motor vehicles. Who knows, we might have planes next.
Do you think we should be recording stories like yours?
Oh, very much so. Without heritage, what we got? Nothing.
But you were saying before that there isn't so much less fuss made these days about the Mayfair coming to Hereford.
It needs promoting more. You see, everybody in the olden days would know when the Mayfair was, the first week in May, the first Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in May. Well, the people that's come to live in the area, they don't know when it is, so they need telling. It was like, when I was young, there was always coach trips from Cardiff, from Gloucester, coming to the Mayfair. It was on the social calendar, the same as the Derby, Ascot, the Cup Final. Hereford Mayfair was a social part of the calendar. So it really does need now the council, the Showman's Guild, and everyone else that can help to promote it, and let's fetch it back to how it was.
But do we need to record the heritage of the Mayfair in particular? Why do we need to record this in the wider picture of Herefordshire's history?
Well, there's not been many sites had a fair since 1114. So that's where the heritage comes from, isn't it? You know. So, and you've got the wonderful cathedral, and I think people, the coach firms could put coaches on from, I'm sure people in London's never been to Hereford, and would love to see it. They go to Windsor, so why not come to Hereford?
The idea of perhaps is like what say so the importance of recording this story, maybe that.
Sorry, Emily, me asking the wrong question, but how important is it to record stories, actually record them so they can be seen and listened to for other generations?
Oh, very much so, because once it dies off, it dies off. We have to sit down and tell our grandchildren now what it was like, what different things was. Without heritage, how are they going to know? They don't teach it to them in school, unfortunately. So it's very good that there's people that does the archives that will fetch it to the front, and I think the more it comes to the front, the better.
It's interesting that, so for example, the Showman's Guild,
Yes.
I wonder how often their stories are recorded. You know, we have the history, lots of history about the cathedral, for example, but not about the people who put up and set up this every year for nearly 900 years. Do you think your stories should be put in the archive?
Yes, I think so, very much so. There's a lot of people on this site now at the fair that their grandparents came and great-grandparents. So it should be told, you know. We're not just people that's coming into town and taking the money and going. We've been part of Hereford for a long, 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 long time.